Hi everyone, I'm Daryl, and I've been teaching science for more than 10 years now. Over the years, I've guided more than 1,000 students to excel at their national exams, with close to 70% scoring a distinction. Alongside my team of tutors, we have analyzed and created what we consider a sure win exam strategy for our students. And today, I'm going to share that with you. After watching this video, you will have a clear exam strategy that you can immediately implement and see a significant improvement to your grades. 70% of our students score a distinction at their O and A levels, almost double that of the national average. This is by no means an accident, as we ensure that we put our students through an intensive program which properly prepares them to excel at their exams. This means having a well-defined exam strategy to ensure that you can perform. Now, just a shout out to be sure to watch till the end, as we'll be sharing with you how you can win a set of our highly in-demand curated notes worth up to $50. Otherwise, let's jump right in. First thing, command word analysis. Now, this is a lot more specific to science, but it's also largely applicable to other subjects as well. It is extremely important that we deeply understand command words so that we understand the question requirement. The scariest thing that can happen is that when you write an answer that is not what the question is asking for. Every question comes with a specific command word, and that will immediately guide you on the question requirement. So let me run through with you the more commonly tested command words. I'll start with the simpler ones, followed by the more challenging ones. The first I'll start with is the word define. Now, define is intended to be literal. Only a formal statement or an equivalent paraphrase is required. For a definition question, you need to be highly precise. Any keywords that are not included here will result in you not getting the mark. And based on exam trends, definitions or recall questions usually only take up a very short and small percentage of the paper. So what could be helpful is to compile all of these commonly tested definitions into a list so that you can quickly revise it the night before the exam. Now, on to the next question type. Now, for questions that have the command word state, the requirement is a simple, concise answer with little to even no supporting argument being required. It could be a numerical answer that can be obtained just via inspection. In other words, the answer here is meant to be extremely straightforward and there's no need for further explanation. Now, for chemistry specifically, you might want to be careful if they're asking for you to state the chemical formula or the chemical name. Just be careful on that. Now, let's move on to the next tier of command words, starting with the term describe. For describe question, it actually requires students to state in words or using diagrams where appropriate the main points of the question. Now, describe question type usually implies that the question should reference to a certain extent any visual observations. And if the question states with reference to the table or the diagram, you should attempt to quote specific data points that can help to substantiate your answer. Describe and explain questions may be coupled in a similar way to state and explain. The best way to think about describe question is that when they ask you to describe, it's usually to describe what or to describe how. Now, the other one that is very closely related that a lot of students have misconception about is the term explain. Now, the command word explain requires you to do reasoning or referencing some specific concepts in the syllabus. Now, the best way to think about this is when the command word is explain, you need to explain why. There needs to be a very strong link to specific concepts that you have learned in your syllabus. You might also want to pay close attention to the marks for each question. You should be thinking further on the mark allocation to get a better gauge of how extensive your answer should be. As a sweeping statement, each mark should be about one complete sentence long. So a 2-mark question will mainly require 2 points. So let me give you an example here. If you're being tasked to explain a displacement question, this is how your answer should look like. Now, you will state, firstly, magnesium is more reactive than copper as it loses electrons more readily. That's the first mark. And that leads to the second point. Therefore, magnesium, when it's added to copper 2 nitrate solution, the magnesium will displace the copper ions in the solution to form copper metal. So you can see over here, if it's a 2-mark explain question, usually you need to write 2 separate points to substantiate your explanation. Now, hopefully this gives you a clearer picture of what is required and therefore you can avoid overwriting. However, let me be clear that this is just a generic recommendation. There are different questions that will require different length of answers. Another good gauge is to take a look at the number of lines that you're given. You should not be writing beyond more than 1 line than the number of lines that are actually provided to you in your exam paper. Now on to the most difficult tier of command words, which will be the first one, predict, or deduce. Now, such questions would mean that you're not expected to produce the required answer by recall, but instead by making a logical connection between other pieces of information provided in the question. Now, such information may be given in the question itself, or it may depend on the answers that you extracted from an earlier part of the question. So, predict also implies a concise answer with not much need for supporting statements. On the other hand, the next tier of command word is the term suggest. Now, suggest is used in two main contexts. Firstly, either to imply that there's no unique answer, or to imply that the students are expected to apply their general knowledge to what we call a novel situation, which means one that might not be formally in the syllabus itself. So for suggest questions, you are required to think one step further, probably just one step beyond what you have learned in the syllabus to come up with that possibility. Now, I know a lot of you right now, you might be very confused with how command words will work. Therefore, let me just help you visualize this situation. So imagine you're late for school and you're sent to the discipline master's office. Now, if the discipline master asks you to state the time that you reach school, you just give a very straightforward answer like 8:05 a.m. Now, but if the question here is to describe why you're late, you describe it by talking about, oh, I woke up at this timing, the bus was delayed, I took the east-west line, the MRT. So there's a lot more details, and you're probably referencing specific data points. In this case, it's like the timing where you reach each of the different checkpoints. Now, if you're required to explain why you are late, right? The keyword here is explain why. You must link it to a concept. So the concept here could be, oh, there was a traffic jam, right? Out of my control. There's an MRT breakdown, right? That's the concept. Or your alarm didn't ring. So when you come across explain questions, you need to link it to why, right? What's the concept behind it? And lastly, if the question is to suggest how you can avoid being late next time, what you'll be thinking of is a lot more creative, right? You need to apply some general knowledge, and there's no unique answer to this. So it could be, okay, next time I'll set my alarm earlier, or I will set 10 alarms, or maybe I'll take a different bus route to come to school. Or you can even come with something more ridiculous that's logical still. Oh, I'll move house so that I stay right next to the school, right? A bit ridiculous, but you get my point. So suggest question is really thinking out of the box here. And hopefully by understanding your command words better, you will heighten your awareness and you will know what the question requirement is more deeply so that you can score well. Now, that was the first tip, understanding your command words. Let's move on to the second exam strategy you must know, risk reward. Now, in terms of game theory, to win a game where resources are factored in and resource management actually affects your reward, the ideal strategy is to maximize your output by optimizing your risk reward ratio. Now, how exactly can you achieve this? There are specific questions in the paper that are meant to be more challenging, and the likelihood of you scoring well for these questions are actually very low. Now, while questions are arranged in sequential order from question 1 to question 10, nobody said that you had to do it in sequence. So what I will recommend is that at the start of the paper, you would want to quickly flip through the entire paper and to mark out the questions into 3 tiers. Those that are easy, those that are medium, and those that are hard. How you should tackle the paper is by securing the easy and medium questions first. This is to secure your baseline grade of a B3 or A2, and then to spend the rest of your time to attempt the hard questions that can propel you into the A1. The worst case scenario is that you spend so much time on the challenging questions and you have not enough time for the marks you would have scored easily otherwise. In context for the science paper, I actually recommend leaving your data response question till the end. Now, the question over here is usually very long, with many data presented that you need to interpret. Furthermore, the likelihood to do well here is relatively low. Therefore, my recommendation is to still attempt this question, but to do it last. So in short, even for other subjects, focus on the questions that you're confident in first and secure your baseline. Then move on to attempt the more challenging questions after. Now, the third exam strategy that you must know is time management. Now, something that really screws over a lot of students is the lack of time management. And as a result, many questions are left unattempted and a lot of marks are left on the table. The focus of time management is to ensure that you have sufficient time so that it's spaced out such that you can complete all of the questions sufficiently. One very important message that I need you to understand here is this. It is more important to attempt all the questions well than to attempt a few questions perfectly. It is usually the obsession over the need for perfection that causes many students to spend extra time on specific questions, and this causes them to not have enough time for the remaining questions. A well-planned out time management strategy will guide you at what timing you should be at which part of the paper. So personally, I like to give myself 30-minute chunks and to base my progress accordingly. So for example, if the 1 hour 45-minute science paper 2 consists of 12 questions, I usually like to break it into 30-minute blocks, which means I'll need to complete on average 4 questions per 30 minutes. And that will leave me about 15 minutes for checking. But by giving yourself a very clear checkpoint, you can actually keep track of your time management so that you can make the necessary adjustments to speed up or slow down when needed. Now, to get a better hang of time management, I highly recommend doing more time practices so that you get used to the time allocation strategy that you have set and you can make adjustments to suit your pace. This is why at Overmug, we ensure that all our students sit through mock exams before major exams like prelims or O and A levels. I suggest that you do the same for yourself. Maintaining a suitable pace to complete your paper is important, but one thing that I would like to caution against is speeding through the question and not reading the question carefully. Now, one of the biggest reasons why students drop marks is because they failed to read the question carefully or missed out on very important keywords or clues that are essential. One way to circumvent this is by doing question analysis, where you can highlight or underline keywords or any guiding phrases that will help guide you on how to solve the question itself. Now, another big one is rushing through your calculations and making mistakes that are otherwise avoidable. I recommend you leave at least the last 5 to 10 minutes to properly check, ensure that you read all the questions properly, and all the calculations in the paper are double-checked that they are done accurately. And with that, you have a much more defined exam strategy that revolves around mastery of command words, understanding risk-reward, and implementing a disciplined time management system. This will definitely help you perform much better at exams and therefore improve your performance. Now, lastly, if you watch till the end and you wish to win a copy of our highly in-demand curated notes, the curated notes itself is very popular. It covers the full syllabus. It contains concise concept recaps, commonly tested work examples, and even precise answering technique that you will need to master to score well in your exams. But all you need to do here, in order to stand a chance to win, is to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment on what topic you'd like us to discuss next. We will be selecting a winner for each video, and we'll send the winner a copy of our curated notes for free. So don't miss out this awesome reward, and remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment right away. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye-bye.